Stevens Point Public Policy and General Government Meeting, recorded February 8, 2021.
Thank you. I call the Public Policy and General Government meeting to order at 6:14. We have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is the license list. Agenda items 2 and 3 are related to each other, but we'll take one at a time. First one is 2A is a temporary extension of license premise for Pete's Sports Bar, 200 Division Street, for an event on August 28th. This is required to be able to serve alcohol in the space that relates to number 3. Assistant Chief Cuso, do you have any concerns or comments about this event?
The only concern that I do have, they're extending this event throughout the entire parking lot north of Pete's Sports Bar. So according to our policy or city ordinance 1214, if they're going to be serving alcohol outside, we recommend that a fence be put up around that perimeter, just like we've done in the past for other events that have taken place outside as well.
Mayor Wiese.
And I just want to point out on page 5 of 7 of your packet, the outline actually includes Vincent Street. We would not be able to authorize open intoxicants on the street.
Right. My understanding of the Vincent Street thing is that they are putting vehicles there or something like this, some sort of class. Is that for additional parking or something for Vincent Street?
If I may interject, this is Drew Potts with MOCW, Mustangs of Central Wisconsin, that is actually heading up the event. That would be correct. It's just for show cars. It is not for additional parking. It's for additional show cars. And I do understand that we would not be able to have any intoxicants on the public streetway.
Alder Nabel.
Thank you. Alder Nabel, District 3. Yes, I was going to say that as from the diagram that it shows Vincent Street and encourage that they would have to stay within the parking lot with any alcohol beverages, and that would really be important to have it fenced in. So thank you.
I have a question for Mayor Wiese or City Attorney. Under COVID, we have relaxed some of the policies related to serving intoxicants outdoors. And if I recall correctly, we've changed the fencing ordinances, but does that only apply to the downtown area?
Alder, this is Attorney Beveridge. I think that even though the effect of what we have done has been to essentially get rid of the fencing requirements downtown, we haven't made any changes to those requirements, strictly speaking, because what we've done is relaxed the open container laws as relates to the downtown area. We haven't created extensions of premises for the places that are serving down there. So even though people can stand outside, they're not actually within the licensed premises, unless it's one of the handful of places that has a sidewalk cafe that they've had for a while now. So it's a little bit apples and oranges there. So nothing has really changed with regards to the fencing requirements.
Mayor Wiese.
And Chair Jennings, I think what you're talking about is relaxing the fencing requirement for cafe style seating, not necessarily events or the extension of premise. Cafe style seating was different than even the extension of alcohol that we did downtown, separate ordinances.
Okay.
Also to interject, with such a large area, with alcohol being served and transported outside of that facility, we would recommend that we have 2 auxiliary which obviously is free of charge. They're volunteers, but also one contractual officer as well at that organization.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? So a possible recommendation here is that conditional approval could be given with these issues addressed, but I'll bring it back to the public. Any comments from the public? And Mr. Potts, if you could perhaps address the fencing issue.
Most certainly, I definitely can. Last year and the prior year, we did have temporary caution and construction tape with construction cones around there. Are we in need of a more secure fencing, like a snow fencing with stakes?
Yeah, what the city ordinance states, it has to be a wire mesh, solid vegetation, wood, plastic, or any similar material, which will provide for an enclosed area on the outside of the licensed premises. So a snow fence
Okay.
would work, yes.
Okay, so if we want to designate an area within that parking lot as an area in which people can go consume alcohol, would that be acceptable as well if it was with a smaller area within the show area?
Correct. Again, it would have to be fenced. And with
Okay.
the road closure, we are asking for 2 auxiliary to be there for Vincent and 1 contractual officer.
Okay, and I think we discussed that last year. I don't see any issues with that either.
Okay, so I'll bring it back to the committee, and we could consider conditional approval. And Mr. Potts, you could contact Clerk Yenter to make these revisions on the application. So committee, what are your wishes?
Chair Jennings, I would move to approve with the condition that the area in which alcohol is served or consumed be fenced, and that 1 contractual officer and 2 auxiliary personnel be provided by the event managers.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Nabel, third
Okay.
district, I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item number 3, related to the same event, is a request to hold event a street closing. And this is for the Lexi's Love Benefit Car Show on August 28th. Assistant Chief Kuso, any comments, concerns?
Nope. Obviously, if we have 2 contractual there to watch the road closure, barricades would have to be set up. And 1 contractual, we have no problem with that Lexi show.
Thank you. Any comments from the questions from the committee? Anyone in the public? Seeing I bring it back to the committee, what are your wishes, please? Alder
Cindy
Nabel.
Nabel, District 3 request, I'd like to approve the request to hold the event for the Lexi's Love Benefit Show on August 28th.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Lee Carroll, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed say no. Motion carries. Good luck with that great event. Item number 4 is a discussion on the merits of forming a housing task force. This was brought forward by President Johnson and Alder Dalton. I will turn it over to either of you to, or both of you to talk about this. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Jennings. And I believe, oh yeah, Alder Dalton is on. I just wanted to make sure I hadn't seen her originally. So I'll let Alder Dalton go first. This is something that she and I talked about. Her very first, one of the first conversations I had with her is talking about housing. And Alder Dalton, if you wanted to kind of tee this up, I'd be happy to follow you.
Sure. Thanks, President Johnson. We brought this discussion item forward with the intention of getting council approval to go forward with forming a housing task force. And I think our vision for this is to bring together stakeholders from across the community in partnership with staff and a representative of the council to look at what is really needed from a policy level here in the city to move forward with. And as much as we can appreciate the good work that the community development department has been doing, I think gaining more perspectives from across the community and can probably accelerate and just bring some more vibrant ideas to the floor as we continue to see that housing is kind of one of the areas of greatest concern for community members, and also with the decision to close the Edgewater facility, really kind of bringing to light the question of there is really a need for specific types of housing, and what are we doing to make sure that they can be built or created, especially by private entities, since the city is not really looking to get into that. So we appreciate further discussion and from the council here and staff, and hopefully it can move forward.
Thanks, Alder Dalton. And I've been following this, and actually 2 years ago, it was one of the things that I wanted to kind of tackle when I campaigned. I said, you know, housing is how the working class and the middle class, that's our biggest wealth builder. And we've kind of got a gap. And that doesn't make for a robust, sustainable community. And this has kind of evolved now because I was contacted by a downtown business owner asking about, you know, what can we do about homelessness or near homelessness and some of the challenges there. This person referenced my work with the Census Complete Count Committee that I did for the county board, bringing community partners together to solve a countywide problem, but under the auspices of the county. And we brought a lot of people together, and we had great results. But that inquiry led me to talking with a lot of different people, including Reverend Jane Johnson and this great ecumenical group called One Big Tent. Of course, conversations with our very own Mark Cordes and the successes he's been realizing in his collaboration on Rent Ready. Very proud to have brought that forward with Mark to the county board to get county to actually buy into that. And then, of course, we've faced Edgewater. And even in my own life, I would like to find a mid-sized home in the city of Stevens Point that isn't so large. And as one very wise person told me, we have a missing middle. So we have a wide range of issues, from homelessness to near homelessness, housing equity, a range of housing choices, and we have opportunities by bringing people together. The last thing that really launched this was the outcomes of our strategic plan work, which you all should see pretty soon. The number one issue, when we asked over 2,000 people, by the time we had online submittals, by the time we had focus groups, by the time we had the steering committee, by the time we had individual interviews with business owners, housing was the top issue. And so no one group can solve this, but by working together and bringing all of these different groups, everybody with their different focus and their passion, along with the, you know, really the power of the city to bring that coordination, explore our ordinances, explore options, explore programs, partnerships. I think we get a head start on that key component of the strategic plan that we're going to see. And that's why Alder Dalton and I are bringing this to you to see if you want us to continue pursuing this.
Thank you both. Director Konofsky, do you have any comments? And I'm curious what kind of steps if you support this, what steps do you see for staff in collaboration with council to move this forward?
Yeah, I would say the community development team is very much in support of bringing this conversation forward. It is affordable housing is a huge component, and a lot of times it's what we hear is one of the bigger issues here in our community and even nationwide. And a lot of other communities are doing the same exact thing. They're forming these types of teams and task forces and putting together what are essentially white papers on what we can do to address affordable housing. And it's such a large conversation, everything from incentivizing to what are we doing to encourage new housing authority, Section 8 style housing. How are we encouraging that? Are we building those units? Zoning. I mean, there's all sorts of components to it. I think having one centralized group to really look into it, for Stephen's point, and I would hope that it's also a larger urban area conversation as well, including the villages of Plover and Whiting, but really seeing where this comes from. I think staff's perspective is we would be more than happy to assist in putting together agendas, providing documentation, and being active participants in the discussion as well. So we're generally in favor of looking into this.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mayor Weezer.
Mute.
There we go. I think more specifically, what we would do is direct staff to put together a proposed ordinance creating the housing task force. And I agree with President Johnson and Alderperson Dalton. Housing is almost always the #1 issue, regardless of the group. And she mentioned Mark Cordes working with the Hunger and Poverty Prevention Partnership on their Rent Ready program. There are many groups in town that are attempting to address different segments of housing. We have a city housing authority. There's a county housing authority. There's the Affirmative Action Fair Housing Committee on the county side. There is, Evergreen Community Initiatives. I've worked with people in regards to potentially starting up tiny homes, things like that. Putting all of these groups together at the same table, I think, makes very good sense. Directing staff to put together that ordinance, which would have a makeup of the committee members and bringing a proposal forward, I think would be the next step.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee for President Johnson, Alder Dalton, Director Konoski?
Chair Jennings, Alder Kneebone here. I think this is really a great idea. And I see it as an opportunity to really think outside the box. Why not just create affordable housing? Why not create a green housing, affordable housing community? Utility costs, particularly in the winter, can be very hard for folks on the margin. If we could do something with the Midwest Renewable Energy Association or some innovators in solar and wind technology, I mean, we could really be an innovator here. So think big.
All right. Thank you. Any other comments, questions from the committee? Alder Fischler.
Yeah, I think it's a really great idea as well. I think it's really important for us to understand the housing mix in Stevens Point so we can properly plan for the future and even for now. Thanks.
Alder Nabel.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to add that we've had disappointments, this last year or so with trying to get affordable housing through our TIF, districts, and had those not work out and fall through. So we are definitely have been aware that there's a need for this, and there's more ways than one way to get it. And I think it's great to see that there's a group that can get put together to see what we can do. We need it, and it's not a surprise at all to any of us. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Any comments or questions from the public?
Bob Woehr.
Mr. Ware, go.
As Bob Weir, 727 Second Street. You know, the question is not housing per se, it's affordable housing. Now, the city has at least 4 committees or commissions that are codified. That being the Plan Commission, the Affirmative Action Fair Housing Committee, the Redevelopment Authority, and the Housing Authority. Housing is available within the city of Stevens Point if you just look at all these apartment buildings going up. And with the future of the convent being converted also into housing. The affordable housing, however, can only be addressed by increasing the salaries of the residents. So rather than trying to deal with trying to find affordable housing, you're not going to find affordable housing. The cost of housing continues to go up. But rather than the city spending taxpayer funds on developer incentives for all these apartment buildings that will not be affordable for a large percentage of the population, at least, I would suggest that we look more at bringing in more businesses, manufacturing, et cetera. I mean, we've got several hundred acres out to the east side that could be developed, and then people would be better able to afford housing. But just to have another committee to look at, to a pipe dream, it would be basically a pipe dream. There's no space within the city to build these tiny houses, number one. There's a few little lots, but there are also organizations within the community, Cap Service, Habitat for Humanity, et cetera, that have done what they can to provide affordable housing. But just to have a committee put together, and as the mayor suggested, to write an ordinance and create another committee, I don't think it's going to accomplish what the desired effect is. And
Thank
those
you.
are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Weir. As you point out, it is a very complex issue, and every city struggles with this very problem. But thank you for your comments. Alder Short.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with some of what Mr. Ware just said. I think that the biggest part of the problem is employment and wages, but I don't agree with the idea that there's nothing that can be done on the affordable housing side. And if I could just add a couple other quick points in response. One is that I don't think that the new apartments being built are even at the price that they are completely separate from more affordable rentals. I think that the increase of supply will have an effect on apartments that are less expensive. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, and I'm sure that the task force would be very much taking this up, that building new housing isn't the only answer here. As local governments have been dealing with this issue, a lot of what they've been doing is about ancillary dwelling units, converting garages into small studio apartments. And so I think there's definitely plenty of these other questions for the task force to deal with, and so I'm supportive. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments from the committee? Bringing it back to President Johnson.
Thanks, Chair Jennings, and thanks for all of the discussion. And it is just the tenor of this discussion, it really exemplifies how complicated this is. And I don't want us to get into, this isn't just about affordable housing. This is in the range of housing that's available. This is in the style of housing. It's about, our zoning ordinance accommodating different types of housing. It's about what we might build in collaboration with our nonprofit partners like CAP Services or this ecumenical group called One Big Tent, in trying to start at the beginning of some of the challenges that people face when it comes to housing. So this everything all of you said exemplifies why this is going to be an interesting journey and a much needed one. So thank you for the discussion.
Okay, thank you. This is a discussion item, so I don't think we need to make a motion. However, if it's agreeable to the committee, I think the suggestion following what Mayor Wiese said is to suggest that staff move forward with the creation of an ordinance and in collaboration with President Johnson and Alder Dalton in terms of what this will be. Mayor Wiese, did you have another comment?
And I was going to say, we don't need a motion for that. We should have something drawn up for a committee to consider as early as next month.
All right. With that, our agenda is exhausted and we are adjourned at 6:41. Thank you, everyone.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.